You see the headline on your phone. Oil prices are spiking again. Something about a conflict halfway around the world. Something about a meeting you never heard of. Something about ships and pipelines and barrels. You scroll past it because it feels distant, like weather in a country you will never visit. But then, a few weeks later, you are at the pump, and the number is not the number you expected. It is higher, much higher, and you feel it, that quiet, private frustration. Not because you understand the geopolitics, because you have to fill the tank anyway. This looks like a news story, but it is actually a story about you, about how your money leaves your account because of decisions made in rooms you will never see. The question is not whether oil prices are rising. The question is why your brain keeps treating it like a surprise. Let me stop you there. You are not naive for not connecting a war to your weekly budget. You are not bad with money because you did not anticipate how an OPEC decision would change the cost of your commute. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It filters out information that feels abstract. It focuses on what is immediate, invisible. That filter kept your ancestors alive. It kept you from drowning in threats you could not control. And right now, it is trying to protect you from the weight of a global system you cannot touch. That is not a flaw. That is a survival instinct, and it makes perfect sense. But here's what's actually happening beneath the surface, and once you see it, you'll stop blaming yourself for not seeing it sooner. The first reason oil prices rise is war. Not because war uses oil, though it does, but because war creates fear, and fear changes behavior. When a conflict erupts in a region that produces oil, the world does not wait for a single barrel to be destroyed. The market reacts to the possibility of disruption. Traders, sitting in offices thousands of miles away, start buying oil futures at higher prices today because they are afraid oil will be harder to get tomorrow. That fear is contagious. It spreads from traders to shipping companies to refineries to gas stations, and every step of that chain adds a premium for uncertainty. You don't see the fear, you just see the price. Think about the last time you heard about a conflict in the Middle East. You probably didn't rush to buy gasoline, but someone did. Someone with millions of dollars in a computer algorithm. In their fear, their split-second decision to pay more for oil next month traveled through the economy and landed in your tank. You were not paying for oil. You were paying for the world's collective anxiety. In your brain, which is very good at feeling its own anxiety, is not good at feeling someone else's. So it misses the connection. It just feels poorer. Now consider a different day. You wake up to news that OPEC, the group of oil-producing countries, has decided to cut production. They meet in a conference room, they agree to pump less oil, and within hours, prices climb. This looks like a conspiracy. It looks like powerful people deciding to make your life harder. But here's what's actually happening. OPEC is not trying to punish you. They are trying to stabilize their own economies. Many of these countries depend entirely on oil revenue to pay for food, medicine, and salaries. When prices are too low, they can't afford to run their governments, so they cut supply to push prices up. It's not greed, it's survival. Their survival looks like your pain. In your brain, which has never had to negotiate oil production to keep the lights on, cannot hold that perspective. It sees a price hike and feels attacked. That feeling is real, but the attack is not personal. It's just two different realities colliding. One where you need affordable gas to get to work, another where a country needs expensive oil to feed its children. Both are true, and the collision between them happens inside your wallet. The third reason is supply chains. This one is quieter but heavier. Oil does not travel instantly. It moves on ships, through pipelines, across borders. And every single step of that journey is fragile. A storm in the Gulf of Mexico shuts down offshore drilling. A pipeline in a remote forest leaks and closes for repairs. A port in a small country gets congested because there aren't enough workers to unload the tankers. Each of these delays does not stop oil from flowing. It slows it down. And when supply slows but demand stays the same, the price rises. Not dramatically at first, but slowly. Invisibly, a few cents here, a few cents there, and by the time the oil reaches your local station, the original delay is ancient history. You never heard about the storm. You never read about the pipeline.
You just see a price that has crept up for no obvious reason. Your brain hates that. It wants a clean story, a villain, a date, a cause. But the cause was 1,000 small frictions spread across the planet, and your brain was never designed to track 1,000 things at once. So it gives up. It tells you gas is just expensive now, and that story, that simple, unsatisfying story, is the only way it can protect you from the chaos. But here's what most people miss. The real weight of rising oil prices is not what you pay at the pump, it's what you pay everywhere else. Because oil is in the truck that delivers your groceries, it's in the fertilizer that grows your wheat, it's in the plastic that wraps your chicken, it's in the asphalt on the road you drive to work. When oil prices rise, everything that moves, everything that is made, everything that is shipped becomes more expensive, and those increases don't show up all at once. They show up weeks later in different places in different amounts. Your grocery bill goes up, your takeout dinner goes up, your Amazon order costs more. Your electric bill, if your electricity comes from oil or natural gas, goes up. And each of these increases feels like a separate little injustice, but they're all the same injustice. They're all oil. Your brain, trying to protect you from the overwhelming complexity of a global supply chain, cuts each expense into its own box. It says the bread is expensive, the delivery fee is high, the electric bill is frustrating. It doesn't say these are all the same problem, because if it did, you might never stop worrying. And that protection, that fragmentation of fear, is not stupidity, it's mercy. The person who understands this is not the person who can predict oil prices. The person who understands this is the person who stops taking it personally. Because the moment you realize that a war on the other side of the world, a decision in a conference room, and a delayed ship in a distant port are all connected to the number on the pump, something shifts. You are no longer confused. You are no longer surprised. You are still paying more, but you're not blaming yourself. You are not searching for a mistake you made. You are not wondering if you should have budgeted better. You see the chain. And seeing the chain does not lower the price, but it removes the shame. And that is not nothing. That is everything. Over time, your relationship with this changes. When you're younger, you feel each price hike is a personal failure. You think you should have filled the tank yesterday. You think you should have known. But as you get older, as you watch the same pattern repeat through different presidents and different crises and different seasons, you start to see the truth. This was never about your choices. The price of gasoline was never a test of your foresight. The cost of living was never a judgment on your discipline. It was war. It was OPEC. It was a storm. It was a pipeline. It was 1,000 things you could not see and could not control. And that realization doesn't fix anything, but it stops the bleeding, because the bleeding was not coming from your wallet. It was coming from the belief that you should have seen it coming. The behavior of checking the news, feeling anxious, and then feeling helpless is not a weakness, it's a shield. It's your brain's way of preparing for a threat it cannot solve. That little spike of stress when you see oil prices climb is not you being dramatic, it's you being alert. It's you scanning the horizon for danger, and that alertness, even when it cannot change the outcome, is the only thing that keeps you from being blindsided. So let yourself feel it. Let yourself notice the connection between a headline and your bank account. Let yourself be frustrated. That frustration is not a sign that you are failing. It's a sign that you are paying attention. And paying attention, even when the answer is big and as messy as the global oil market, is the most human thing you can do with your money.